Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing awesome. Starting a new series, going to start this August out and then the rest of the season out with NFL. Going to be doing an NFL preview of every team, for the rest of the month here. One team every day. And I'll also be making other videos, going over all kind of fantasy stuff related. Huge into fantasy. Excited for this time of year. So, stay tuned for those videos. Going to be having all the videos on players you need to get, draft, good draft positions. I mean, whatever you guys want, those videos are going to be coming out. So today we're going to be doing the Arizona Cardinals, kind of going in alphabetical order and just going to knock out all the teams here in a team everyday video. So go ahead and like and subscribe, guys. Support the channel. Any new football players that aren't subscribed, this is that time of year to get all that football content. So we're gonna dive into it. The Arizona Cardinals team preview. The Cardinals finishing 8-8 last season, pretty solid, with Cliff Kingsbury and why can't I think of his name, and Kyler Murray, obviously unbelievable, especially if you had him in fantasy. I did have him in fantasy as my quarterback. He was amazing on the ground. I mean, you got to have that versatile running quarterback. The thing was, his passing, because he's such a small quarterback. Can he, really thread the needle, get those passing yards that we want from a fantasy player? But a lot of new additions this offseason. They have DeAndre Hopkins. He's your go-to fantasy guy, especially in the second round, almost late second round of drafts. We know what DeAndre Hopkins brings to the table. No need to even talk about him. But definitely added some help on offense. Brought in AJ Green. Is AJ Green washed up? We don't know. Hasn't had his last couple years of the Bengals were pretty bad, but maybe this is a resurgence for him. If he ends up playing up to his capabilities and avoids injury, a very talented wide receiver number 2 that'll draw attention, and it'll make life easier for DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. And losing, they brought in James Conner after losing Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake had a pretty solid season last season. James Conner, kind of a disappointing season for the Steelers here, but bringing him in along with Chase Edmonds should be a really nice 1-2 punch. James Conner, that kind of run it down your mouth, kind of tough running back. Edmonds, the versatile, receiving back and speedy running back. Going to be solid. Chase Edmonds is getting drafted way earlier than Conner. I think Chase Edmonds is the running back to have this season for sure. But James Conner's getting drafted in like the hundreds. So take a flyer on James. He's going to get a lot of carries, that's for sure. They drafted Rondale Moore from Purdue. Maybe he can sneak in and be this wide receiver 4. They already have Kirk as their 3. Christian Kirk as their 3. So the receiving core is really solid. Brought in some help on defense here. Brought in J.J. Watt. Drafted Zaven Collins in the first round. Should be a really great linebacker, along with Simmons. Really great back end right there. They did lose Patrick Peterson, but I think they're going to be all right here. We're going to move on to the projected depth chart here. We'll go over it since it is the preview. Kyler Murray, their backup they have Colt McCoy as the backup. Pretty okay, decent running quarterback backup in case Kyler Murray does get hurt. We got Chase Edmonds, James Conner, Jonathan Ward as the running backs. Receivers, we got DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Rondale Moore, Keyshawn Johnson, Christian Kirk, and Andy Isabella. Really no tight end help here for this Arizona team. That's probably their biggest weakness, I think. There's no really tight end to be able to use in fantasy. They have Max Williams, Darrell Daniels. Really just nobodies. Really solid line. They did bring in Rodney Hudson, which is a very solid signing. Really good veteran to plug up the middle. They got DJ Humphries, Justin Pugh, Rodney Hudson, Justin Murray, and Kelvin Beachum as the starting 5. Really solid offensive line there. Defense, really solid too. We got J.J. Watt, Rashard Lawrence, Zach Allen, Chandler Jones, which I did see we're trusting a trade. We'll see if that actually happens for Chandler. Brought in Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons, electric linebacking core there with Marcus Golden, Byron Murphy, Jalen Thompson, and, Buda Baker and Malcolm Butler. Really solid defense there. We'll go ahead and go to the stats here. Last year, Kyler Murray had a really great year. Threw for 3,900 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 picks. Really solid year for Kyler. And on the ground, Kyler, 133 carries for 819 yards. Did get 11 touchdowns on the ground. So amazing in the touchdown department there. Kenyon Drake, which they lost, put up 955 yards and 10 touchdowns. Really great year for Kenyon Drake. All of that 239 carries are going to be split up between James Conner and Chase Edmonds here. Edmonds finished the season with 97 carries, 448 yards, only had one touchdown on the ground. But in the air, Chase Edmonds, 53 catches, 400 yards, and how many touchdowns did he had? He had 4 touchdowns, so he had a really solid year. Love Chase Edmonds this year. We got DeAndre Hopkins, finished with 115 catches, for 1,400 yards and 6 touchdowns. Christian Kirk had a disappointing year for Christian Kirk. Had 48 catches for 621 yards and 6 touchdowns. They did lose Larry Fitt. Larry Fitt wasn't really much of a factor. Bringing in a guy like AJ Green, if he can be pretty solid. I'm not expecting AJ Green to do anything crazy, but I think he could definitely get 60, 70 catches for sure and have a pretty solid year. Just looking at their schedule, they went 8-8 last year. Just looking at their schedule here, kind of a tough start here. They're going to start out with Tennessee, Minnesota, Jacksonville, and then Los Angeles. Kind of tough there. We'll see how this Jacksonville and Minnesota team are. We know what Tennessee and Los Angeles are like. I'm just looking at their schedule. Rough schedule here. They don't have any stretches where they're playing a bunch of easy teams. A lot of hard teams here. It's going to be a tough season for Arizona here, but let's hope talent can take over and they can get to the top here. Total offense, Arizona getting 384.6 yards per game on offense. Kyler Murray was getting 244.8 yards per game. They ran the ball pretty well, 139.8 yards on the ground, which is really solid. Then they were scoring 25.6 points per game. So pretty solid there. We go to defense here. Arizona, not the best defensively, kind of mid-pack here. Arizona giving up 351.9 yards per game. Pretty solid in passing D, though, only giving up 226.4 yards per game, and then they were giving up 125.5 yards per game, and then they only allowed 22.9 points per game. Pretty mid-tier, so defense pretty solid. Not the best defense, but not the worst defense either. Getting, J.J. Watt, Zaven Collins, and bringing some veteran guys in like Malcolm Butler, I think that should help this defensive team out, and I think they should have a pretty solid season this year. And the Vegas win total currently has, let's see, they currently have, where are they at? They have the Cardinals sitting at over 8.5 wins, coming off an 8-8 season here. They have a very tough schedule. I think the future is very bright for this Cardinals team. Very tough schedule, but they got the talent to have some nice quality wins this season. I think I'm going to take the over 8.5 wins with this Cardinals team. Really loving what they're going to do. And yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. I'll try to make these videos a little bit better, but that's how these videos are going to be covering all the, their key additions, starting lineups, total stats from last year, all that stuff to get you ready for this season and give you some sense, especially if you're just a straight up, maybe if you're not even a fantasy fan, you're just a straight up fan. The future is bright for Cardinals. A lot of good players to draft in fantasy, and be coming at you every day with another team, and I'll be coming out with more videos, throughout the week, more fantasy football related to get you guys ready for your drafts. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next video tomorrow. Have a good one.